Hello, internets. This is BoneCarlos coming to you from Neo Planet. Not a ladder map. Obviously, this is actually a Kespa International Tournament of Champions. The players today, well, you know what, but forget the players. Introduce someone a lot more important with me. As always, no longer Esnov because he doesn't want to be German because that's just a bad thing. And
Russian.
You said German, Russian, whatever. It's all the same thing, really. His name is now Nov. Say hello, Nov.
What's up, guys?
Woo! Alright, the players today are going to be Daddy, spawning as the blue Terran. His opponent is going to be Ayman, spawning as the red Zerg, and already a little bit of a cheeky little clump up together of those drones if you didn't notice that, but yeah, so TVZ, I know this is more of your area of expertise. Nov, why don't you go ahead and explain the intricacies of this matchup?
Well, this is certainly going to be an interesting one based on I've never seen this map before, but we'll see. Definitely we're going to see a quick expansion out of the Zerg, most likely into some form of a macro game, probably even a fairly quick third. The question out of the Terran more so is, are we going to see bio, we're going to see mech, we're going to see biomech, or we're going to see 12 command centers all turning out SCVs for a 200-200 SCV rush around the 10-minute mark.
That, you know, and that is very unstoppable OP since they do repair themselves. I've done it before. It works very well up against very easy AI. I'm currently 3-0 with that exact build. Now, would you say that the Zerg... I know Zerg has been saying it's more of a reactionary race. Obviously, that's what people always say. But do you agree with that?
I do, yeah, I do, yes. I also agree that I also give a good chuckle to people that try to say that Terran's are reactionary. That's pretty funny because we are not. Zerg definitely is.
Yeah, I mean,
You,
one
you
tech
see
structure.
something? It's like it's like the two points where Zerg's the strongest is one once they get to hive tech, and two once they're on like 5 bases and can go from mass roaches to massling to broodlord to ultralist to ultra broodlord and fester.
Yeah, definitely.
Just sitting there throwing it around, you know, for whatever fits the situation. I mean, I guess to an extent every race is somewhat reactionary just because that's the nature of RTS games, but Zerg is definitely the most.
Yeah, so definitely it's going to come down to Daddy to control the aspect of the game, really, and just push around the Zerg player. And already we see a Marine pushing around an Overlord, and Ayman knows it's game over. He's just screaming out no. He knows it's going to die. He has no chance to save it, so he's going to try to do the maximum amount of scouting possible, and he did manage to scout exactly the fact that one reactor one Vespin geyser wasn't taken. He doesn't know that the second one hasn't been as well. So this pretty much leads me to believe that the Terran is going to be early expanding, and he's already putting on the command center, obviously. So he is obviously early expanding. What are the dangers of doing this? I mean, I always feel as a Terran player that does this one rack expand without any pressure or early aggression. It just feels to me like it's very, very dangerous.
Well, you get a lot of things I expect here very, very soon for him. In fact, I'm not sure why he's not doing it now. Oh, wow. A third command center. Okay. It's not really that dangerous if you get a bunker down for the early lings and then you go into something like Hellions or Banshees. That's, you know, that's the whole that specific part of the build is what makes it so safe is you can get Hellions out in time to deal with, say, a Baneling bust. Because I've done that before. You just have to have good control. And the Banshee, if you're quick enough about it, you can get that out before the roaches get there, and you can be pretty safe against a lot of stuff.
So, yeah, well, then there you go.
Well, for that specific build, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, of course. No, and that's actually just a very simple explanation, and as a Protoss player, I see that I'm just like, there's just chances for run-bys, and I mean, I know Protoss has sentries, but one misclick, one misposition, and all of a sudden you have 12 lings in your base. That's never fun. That is never fun. Ayman doesn't know that this third command center is down, and these players, I don't know if we stated before, but Ayman is Platinum, Daddy is Diamond, so expect some interesting play out of both of these guys. And already we're seeing, looks like Daddy's taking his second refinery, so looks like it's going to go into normal bio, seeing as 3 barracks are going down, and looks like no signs of a factory coming down just yet. And no add-ons really whatsoever.
Well, just as soon as you say that, he drops down himself a tech lab, probably to get Stammer or shields out, one of the two. That third command center is going to allow him to quickly saturate that main base and then use it for his natural, and then put that instantly into a third. That third command center was done. It's done with the orbital included at before 7 minutes. it was finished building by around 6:10. That is an incredibly fast third.
Yeah.
I expect our Terran player to be at the very least on par with the Zerg, if not a superior economy.
Yeah, and speaking of economy, right now the harvester count actually does favor Ayman, 38 to 28. But you can never overshadow the fact that Terrans have those mules. And my question for Daddy would be, where do you put down this third orbital command? I mean, you got this third expansion over here with the destructible rocks down, but it's very easy to counterattack, especially with that overlord just propped right there, just watching to making sure there isn't anything there. But then if you go over the northern part of the map, you see another place to put down that expansion, but it's still huge areas of attack. I mean, you got this extra wide ramp leading down to it. You got this northern little back alley attack path there. Seeing as you've never played this map before, where would you place it? Down south or up north?
Woo. I think I'd probably have to go. I think I'd probably have to go with north, really, just because that seems like, well, ooh. That's tough. That's real tough. Well, actually, no. I'd have to probably go with the bottom there. Just wall off the remaining part of the ramp that's not covered by rocks, and then put your, like, for myself thinking as a mech player, put kind of like your tanks and everything kind of near where that ramp is, and then spread them out to kind of stretch towards covering your natural too.
So there you
That
go.
way you couldn't. That way you couldn't attack either, without forcing your army to fight his right there. That's if you're a mech player, though.
Right, and it doesn't look like doesn't look like Daddy's gonna go mech, since he already put down 2 more barracks to complement his 3 already. Starport up,
Oh, yeah.
reactor on that factory. More than likely gonna see a little bit of a swap. There they go. We see 3 bases by Ayman, and he's not really doing anything much of it right now. He's got 20 Zerglings on the way. Double Evo Chamber are being researched. Those upgrades, not that much of a creep threat. That's the one thing I don't like. He was doing some fancy shenanigans over here with canceling and rebuilding that spine crawler with that single marine attacking it, but that creep spread is non-existent. And right now he does have a nice overlord, just overlords all over the map, gooping up that third expansion for up against the Terran. But these could be easily picked off by wandering squads of marines, and that's something that always interests me when I see a Zerg player do that. I mean, yeah, there's nice in the early game, but especially up against Terran, after about the 6, 7, 8 minute marks, when they start getting ready, gearing up to push out, those overlords are just very easy to pick off, as one is going to be taken down very, very quickly.
Yep, he got that overlord drop real fast, but you gotta remember this creep spread along the expansions. It's invaluable. The 100 minerals that you lose from getting that, it is definitely worth it, just because of how long it takes to clear up this creep that it's spewing out, and it's in full bloom right now, so it's gonna be a while before that goes away.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. So yeah, it looks like Daddy did decide to take his third expansion up on his north side, so interesting spot to put it. Maybe he saw this overlord. No, he didn't see that overlord there, so he doesn't know that it's there creeping, spreading that creep. So right now, here come the SCVs, here come the mules, still pretty much even on the economic side of things. Ayman is at 66, Daddy at 62 harvesters, but you see the mineral income differential with the power of those mules. There is an attack at the front, just pushing forward into the third of Ayman, and it looks like these drones, this hatchery may go down if he's not careful. A nice little split off, but it looks like the Marines are there in a nice little positioning. They back themselves into a corner. The Zerglings there are starting to go ahead and DPS down the outer extreme edges of that squad of Marines, but the Marines just proved too powerful. Infestors on the field, they do have enough for a couple of fungal growths. There they do go down. That pretty much mops up the rest of the Marines, especially with that Baneling backup coming in.
Yep, the damage is already done, though. He lost a tremendous amount of Zerglings. He lost a good chunk of the drones that were there. The unit's loss tab heavily favors Daddy, with only losing 1,150 resources in comparison to 3,525.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, the drop's still happening. Finally, the fungal growths lock them into place. A couple of infested Terrans are going to go ahead and clean up that remaining medevac. It does finally fall, but at what cost? Looking at the workers' kill count, 20 drones were killed in that initial push. A 4th command center is being put down. Missile turrets at the outer extreme edges of Ayman's base, really. So he's just he's playing a little bit defensively. He feels he did it. He feels he did enough damage to warrant another expansion, and he's just going to put down missile turrets for any sort of And I'm assuming a burrowed infestor, since a single turret is going to do much up against mass Mutalisk.
Yep, you're not wrong about that one. Granted, our Terran player now is on about even footing with the Zerg player in terms of upgrades. Those, it all just depends on how he uses these infestors and if he can use them properly. Although I'm not really loving in Zergling infestor baneling against Marine tank just because those mules work so much better for flanking around, lowering the tank numbers, that kind of thing. It's just tanks are the natural enemy of the baneling,
Yeah,
so
and right
let's see how
now,
this goes.
oh my god, if those infestors would have been a little bit faster, they would have caught all of those SCVs off guard, since all of Daddy's army was at the southern end of the map. It looks like this orbital command might go down. A liftoff is needed, but banelings are going to go ahead and hit into the main army of Daddy. He doesn't try to do some cheeky little splits, but forgets to lift off that command center. It does go down in a fiery hellhole of oblivion. Fungal growls are perfect on those marines. Chain fungals brings down plenty of marines. Reinforcement squads of marauders and marines finally going to go ahead and shoo away those, especially since they didn't really have any kind of a zergling or baneling backup.
Yep. The funny thing is now, even though granted our Zerg player is still down in workers, still have that third base up with the ability to get a third economy up and running, whereas our Terran player has more SCVs, but he can't really use
Yeah,
them.
he definitely needs to. He's gonna take time to lift off this command center that he built in his natural expansion, move it over to the third base. But he already has a fourth, taking over that fourth. So I guess that early command center really gave up for any kind of mistakes he was able to have in the long run or in the end of the game. And right now, mass bailing's being morphed in. He saw all those marines, thought, let's go ahead and build those bailings, see what happens, see how they go. 1-1 for the Zerg pieces. Daddy sitting on 2-1, and he's currently going up to level 2 on that weapon. So nothing else too crazy going on. We see a single Zergling poking away at this command center on the south. Still, it doesn't look like Ayman is gearing up to take any sort of a fourth base. He is building a macro hatch in his main with plenty of spine and spore crawlers there for defense. And the longer this goes on, I feel the longer Ayman stays on even footing with Daddy, it's going to prove in the long run to be the downfall for Ayman. He needs to take a fourth very quickly and need to do some sort of counter harassment, which Daddy's going to do another drop in the main.
Yep, this is a huge map, really. So nothing is going to get done quickly in this map. And I will say this though, Daddy just dropped 8 mules on his south expansion, so I'd expect him to really catch up in the mineral count very quickly.
Oh my, the drop, shoot away by those Zerglings, by those spine crawlers. One medevac does manage to survive, and then the second one just went home and didn't even join his buddies there in the drop. Planetary Fortress there. Almost 3,000 mineral income per minute with all of those mules. I mean, he still has a single command center in his natural expansion, just not doing anything really. And I think Daddy could just afford to put down maybe 17, 18, maybe even 19 more barracks. What do you think with the power of that economy that he's churning out?
Yeah, with that kind of economy, he's definitely going to be able, his infrastructure, especially in the marine area, should skyrocket. He should be able to easily pump out 20 plus marines per
Yep,
run.
and here comes a huge engagement. The Siege Tanks are caught out of guard. Siege mode is finally up and running, but they are taken down almost immediately. Huge battle not going in the Terran's favor. Everything is wiped out very quickly. What a huge costly mistake by Daddy.
Yeah, but he's still got that. He's still got that base down there at the bottom, though. So it's not like it's not like it's gonna go just completely useless. Especially with the amount of extra command centers and whatnot that he's got to reinforce, even if say he lost all those workers. So it's essentially almost like they traded armies, really.
No, I see exactly what you're saying, and that's just mind-boggling. And what else is mind-boggling is there are 8 Ultralisks coming in for Ayman. He's finally taken his fourth. The creep spread very just non-existent, really. That's one thing I would like for Ayman just to keep up on. He's putting down 4 creep tumors at a time, but really start using these creep tumors, start spreading that creep. I would want it to be like midpoint of the map by now, but to each their own. Ayman is the platinum level player. Daddy Diamond Finally, he's going to go ahead and use that natural expansion macro command center. He's going to go ahead and looks like he's going to go ahead and float over towards the gold minerals in the middle of the map. Finally, Vikings there are there for escort services. And it looks like Daddy's going to be gearing up to start pushing forward into Ayman's base.
Yeah, if he gets that gold base, he's going to be able to make an absurd amount of Marines incredibly
And
quickly.
you know what else is incredibly quick? How quickly Ultralists barrel through siege tanks, as we saw yet again. I don't even think he lost a single Ultralist, and in that exchange, it looks like the fungal growths on these medevacs are going to lock him in place for quite some time. Chain fungling a couple of them. 3 go down and 2 go down in a blaze of glory, but the gold expansion is up and running for Daddy. Looks like the medevacs are going to go ahead head on back home. A couple of Vikings are just patrolling around the extremes of the map to try to take out any overlords that are just hanging out, but massive amounts of upgrades going down by Ayman. 3-3 already on the way. It looks like adrenal glands for the Zerglings. Zergling Ultralisk is going to be interesting to watch. Wow. And all Daddy has really is Bio. And Bio versus Zergling Ultra with Infestor backup, that can't be good for the Terran forces.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, there's no tech behind what he's going, and the Zerg player just has higher tech. And the weird thing about it too is that the Terran player has level 3 armor but not level 3 weapons, which is kind of strange because with Terran having all range units and having higher DPS based on stim, prioritizing armor over weapons is a little odd.
Yeah, definitely, especially with double engineering bay, especially with being powered up behind 17 command centers. Very interesting choice, but really, this game really came down to tech versus just mass tier 1.5 units. I mean, when you go for an early expand, early triple expand, as Daddy did in the early stages of the game, you're really counting on those early, you know, lair tech, barrack tech, gateway tech to just swarm your opponent and just keep winning or keep throwing away units, just hopefully to winning by a war of attrition. But when your opponent starts getting into this tier 3 tech, it's pretty much a no-go on your end.
Oh, I don't like where this is going. Oh, thank you for scanning. I was about to cringe. Cringe, I say.
Oh, what a Terran homer at heart. But it looks like we see, oh no, actually those are just 2 Vikings just hanging around at the extremes of the map. And looking at the army supply, we see they're about even. Worker supply around the same. Both players that are at pretty much the same supply as well, 171 to 172. But for some reason, I would definitely give the favor still in Ayman's corner just because he has that tech. Looks like a nice little mass drop in the third, but the Zerglings are there catching up with everything. Siege tanks down very quickly. All Ayman needed was Zerglings finally infested that are going to fungal down these medevacs. And that's wow. I really don't see the Terran forces really coming back from this one. I mean, he did remacro up a similar sized army than what he just lost. But really, Ayman isn't losing much in the terms of resources.
Right now, he's really motoring ahead, and with 15, his mineral bank isn't as high as I'd like to see just at this stage. But then again, though, this game's been pretty consistent. But his gas is pretty high. He could afford to switch over into some broodlords, get some alts.
Yeah.
Or more alts, I should say.
Something.
Roaches.
Just start spending that money that he has saved up. I definitely see what you're saying. He's taking his gold now. I'm wondering, what is he waiting for? What is Ayman waiting for to finally just push in and just finish off his opponent? He's won the last 3, 4, maybe even 5 battles that they've come across very handily. What do you think he's waiting for?
Well, there are some Zergs, and I actually know one who is a Grandmasters player who has this mindset, is that a Zerg that attacks loses. So he will just starve you, fight battles, trade armies, but he really avoids attacking into any.
And
any
this
Terran.
is just against a Terran opponent, or is it up against a Protoss player as well?
He's references more so against Terran in terms of just how, you know, planetary, siege tanks, missile turrets, that kind of thing. We're such a strong defensive race that I've never heard him mention that more so about Protoss, but it could just be that style. In fact, earlier on in my StarCraft 2 career, that's all Zergs would do. Just try to keep you. I couldn't get a third base to save my life for the longest time.
And right now we see Ayman, he did lose his fourth base, and it looks like he did lose his gold as well to just roving bands of Marine Marauders, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and stem and focus down this third. Banelings are there to give chase, give way, finally catches up to those Marines, those Marauders. We see a couple of medevacs here at the main base of Ayman, but there are still three spine crawlers there for defense. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to be able to bring them down, but still, the main army of Ayman, plenty of Broodlords, still plenty of Infestors. They have nice amount of energy between them. Daddy doesn't have much for defense, and here come the Zerg Swarm. Looks like the Siege Tanks go down very, very quickly. Banelings finally into the Bio Ball of Daddy. It goes down very quickly as well. Infested Terrans are going to hatch in a second, and finally the Zerg army is in the main base, or actually the natural expansion of Daddy. It goes down, and it won't be too long before they just jump up into the main base.
Yep, he's about ready to bust down these depots. As it does not take an Ultralist long at all to be able to chew through buildings. But running up this choke, he's losing quite a lot, actually, come to think of it. Okay, then. Yes. That was ridiculous. See, that's exactly what I was talking about, though. That's just a small example. Granted, that was an extreme example, but see, Ultralisks are still, their pathing's still bad. They're still big. They're still bulky. They had to run through that choke, and then with the infested Terrans and the infestors deciding to give them hugs as they went up the ramp, the siege tanks were just like,
and
come
they
at
just
me, bro.
pummeled away. And you see, there's their second one right there. One has 5, one has 2 kills. So not surprising if maybe 5's Ultralisk went down. But wow, I mean,
And then you got this little
up
pack
in
of
the
bio
north,
up here, too.
yeah, I mean, I could see why Ayman decided to GG, but wow, that was a very interesting game. It looked like Ayman really had it up until about 2 minutes ago. While Daddy was just really on the back foot, but I guess the power of that economy proved too strong for Ayman to handle. So, wow, that was an interesting game. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. If not, leave comments down below on what Nav could do better. I know I'm the bestest there is, so no need to worry about that. If you guys want us to cast one of your own replays, feel free to give us, upload it to one of the major replay sites, send us a link. Drop.sc is very, very popular, and also head on over to r/cast it, or is it a backslash? Either way, it's sort of a slash kind of thing. It's cast it, and you'll free to upload it one of there, and some cache will go ahead and take it and have their way with it. So that's it for me. Do you have anything to add, Nah, before we sign off? Awesome.
No.
Thank you guys. Later.
Later.